Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning, and welcome to One Thing About Experiential Outdoor Hospitality. I'm your host, Michelle Oliver, with Talk About TV, and this session is sponsored by Evolve Lodging, and we come to you every Monday morning. Randy Hendrickson, welcome.
Good morning, Michelle Oliver. Nice to
Thank
be here.
I know. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today, which is the first thing about being a first mover in, could be anything, but today in experiential outdoor hospitality. So, what does that mean to you, or what's on your mind about that? It's kind of a broad topic.
It is. So let's start broad and then narrow it down a little bit. So
Okay.
I think a lot of folks are by now aware that we've introduced the accessible retreat, which is a park model that is accessible for those with mobility challenges and cognitive disadvantages. So we've been through this process of designing this unit, and one of the things that happens when you do something new that's not been done before, as is the case with the accessible retreat, is you want to find first movers. And so we've come up with some creative scenarios for people that want to be a first mover with this product. But it got me to thinking about first movers in general. So in outdoor hospitality, there's been several, and I'm going to date myself terribly here. But way back when, it was going from 30 amps to 50 amps. Who's going to be the first mover? That's a big change. Then it was
Mhm.
Wi-Fi. Are people going to pay for it? Should it be free? And now it's a utility like plugging in electricity. Then in more recent times, it goes to dynamic pricing. I mean, yield management, dynamic pricing, we're just not going to do that. What will people say? And lo and behold, all the best operators are using dynamic pricing now because it's ubiquitous in all of their industries. The latest topic right now, I think, is electrical usage for daily guests in an RV resort because there's a lot of ways to meter your electricity and perhaps think about baseline kilowatt hour allocations for a daily guest. But if they exceed that allocation, they would pay for the surplus electricity. Well, there again, right now, the monitoring all the conversations in the industry, folks are saying it makes a lot of sense. I'd hate to be the first mover. So those things you can imagine why there would be some trepidation. We're doing something pretty different here. How will the guests react and things like that? But let's talk about the risk perspectives with being a first mover. When you talk about accessibility, you're talking about 26% of the US population has some form of a disability, a limited disability type of thing, in particular with mobility, that equates to over 70 million people. So by bringing on the accessible retreat, which again is the first nationally recognized, nationally certified accessible accommodation, what risk do you have when you're bringing a new accommodation type to an audience of over 70 million people who don't have that option now? So when you think about being a first mover in this perspective, having 70 million people to appeal to and nobody else really in the competitive field, that's a first mover advantage, but you can kind of mitigate the whole risk equation, right? How will the guests react to it? Well, pretty positively because they're not being served right now. The disability community is not being served. How will they react? With gratitude.
Right. Well, with any, from a guest perspective, regarding accessibility or anything really, there's a very small window of opportunity from my perspective
That's
because
correct.
as soon as a few people adopt anything, I mean, remember like Wi-Fi, when you would, the only option is you'd have to give your email address in order to access
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah.
And it still is sometimes, but I remember that feeling of, well, do we give our email address to just anyone? Like, there's always this hesitancy, but very quickly, from a guest perspective, we get used to
Mhm.
that, what you're considering, like, this is the new great novel thing. And then we acclimate very rapidly. So the sooner you adopt something like an accessible unit, the better. because people will start relying on that and expecting it to be standard. Like this is now the precedent. And how long can you actually not jump on the bandwagon, right? Especially with something like this. So
Yeah.
there, I mean, from my perspective, obviously there are a lot of advantages.
Yeah, tons of advantages, and not the least of which, and yes, this is turning quasi-commercial. I admit that, but for something like the
You do
accessible,
have an Evolve hat on.
yeah, that's true.
An
Yeah,
Evolve
yeah.
background. No, I'm
I guess
sorry
it's
to
anything
interrupt.
but, I guess
It's a
it's
good
anything
thing.
but subtle, right?
We're inviting
So
you
is it
too
far from
to
subtle?
evolve.
Guilty,
Yeah.
guilty as
So sorry to
charged.
interrupt you. I'm sorry. I
No,
couldn't help.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's totally fine, but just back to that first mover thing and the risk mitigation. Again, it's mitigated by 70 million potential customers, and that's from the CDC. That's their data. We didn't make it up. But the other thing about being a first mover is media attention. As any campground operator out there, any resort owner, any hotel owner knows that when something is newsworthy, as accessibility truly is, there's going to be media attention, whether we have created that, which we're going to, of course, or it becomes organically derived from, wow, I didn't know this existed before. There's going to be media. Why not ride the coattails of that media as being one of the first resorts in outdoor hospitality in this instance to say, we get it. We're going to do the accessible unit. We're going to be part of that. You're going to reap the tailwinds of a ton of media that's going to be coming out on this. The other advantage, quite honestly, is we're going to be offering first mover pricing advantages for folks who want to be one of the first to adopt this. So if you're a resort owner out there and you've got a prop and you're thinking, I'd like to learn a bit more about what this accessibility thing means, we're here. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk about your budget. Let's go through the numbers. Let's go through the hard math. Let's go through the investment calculator and present why this is a good investment thesis for you. More guests, happier, paying more money, arguably, high occupancy, coattails of media. It's hard to say that that's a lot of risk on a first mover with an accommodation like this. So we're geared up. We're ready to help you, ready to talk to you about your plans, get you first mover pricing, and do the right thing.
And that's what I was going to add is the benefits are tremendous. There's a whole laundry list of them,
Yeah.
and you get to feel good about doing it. You know,
Yeah.
when that first guest arrives and you can document that and share that, and they share that, and then who they share it with shares it. It's just natural organic marketing for you, and it's all doing the right thing in the right way at the right time. The time for this is actually yesterday, but it's
Yeah.
now, what you have
Yeah.
control over, which is right now. So, yeah, so everybody, let's move. It's time.
Let's move. We've been moving for a long
First
time. Come
move.
move with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, we're ready to move you now.
That's
Is there
right.
anything else that you'd like to share, Randy? This is fantastic, and can't wait to hear who's interested and who wants to learn more.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to tag on just one thing. I guess I kind of do that habitually, don't I? But there's this thing I think in the industry that there's an educational piece that we're trying to bring to this as well for the industry at large, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and there's things about accessibility that need not be a mystery, and they're
Right.
very, very clear once discussed. We'd love to help walk you through what accessibility means versus ADA and help you become an informed buyer of the product. And, again, I think it kind of comes back to, don't we all want guests that say thank you? And you have the ability here to offer an accommodation that's never been done before. And the guests using this are going to be saying, thank you for doing this. Who doesn't
Yeah,
want a grateful customer?
that's right. Love and be loved. Evolve
There you go. Evolve.
a million ways. Yeah. Thank you
That's right.
so
Of
much for your time this
course.
morning. Anyone who would like to just reach out, and we're happy to have a conversation with you. Have a
Uh,
wonderful week, everyone.